seen this?
He looks just like you.
Impossible.
You're a colorful bunch.
Hey, howdy, hey, hedgehogs, foxes, Inkinyas, and the rest of you, Wolfman Forward, Sam Dasher. Now, before I start this video about the Sonic films that Paramount did, I should first of all apologise for the Wallace and Gromit video, because I forgot that I did do a VR game featuring Wallace and Gromit. So if you want to see my review of that, I've left it in the description for that video. So yeah, just want to put that aside there. Right, now, so every time I hear a film based on a video game being announced, I can be worried and I can laugh at it, because sometimes when you see these big major studios wanting to create these films based on video games, I laugh on the basis that these studios don't know anything about video games. But at the same time, I also laugh because often people make these video game films not really involving the creators and everything, and it just feels a bit strange. But what I'm really sort of relieved about these days is that lots of video game films, no matter how good or bad they are these days, they are usually trying to keep the original developers involved. And it's because of that video game films like the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I can't think of another example, do well because they involve the developers in that. Whereas there's those other films where the developers and creators are involved, but the film is otherwise a very bad film. Take Borderlands, for example, where it had a very unusual cast. It just kind of throwed in a lot of moments from the video games, but it's otherwise just has next to nothing to do with the games themselves. Doesn't even replicate the graphics of them either, but yeah. Anyway, so when it came to the Sonic films, a lot of us were understandably worried, because Paramount is well known for its Transformers films, and we know how those played out, as well as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles films. We know how those played out. And also all these other big films, and of course obviously Nickelodeon, who have been well known as being that one company that just do not understand that when you do a book to film adaptation, don't throw in pop music, because it just ruins it. But anyway, enough about that. I know they don't do that now, but yeah, enough about that. So let's talk about the Sonic films. Now, I should say that when I heard about the first Sonic film, simply called Sonic the Hedgehog, this is probably loosely based on the very first game of the series, although it does do its own thing, because last I checked, rings don't really take you to different dimensions, but because they needed to include rings somehow, they had to do it like that. So this first film, it was announced with that ugly Sonic design. People didn't like that design, so in a pretty bizarre but unusually strange thing happened, because usually when people see the first trailer of a film and they really hate the design of a character, or a beloved and established character, studios usually stick with that. They don't really change it or anything. But Paramount did probably one of the best decisions they've ever done, which is change the character. They didn't change Sonic, but they did change the look and feel of Sonic, so that it looks more in line with the Sonic that we all know and love. So, big eyes, nice pointy nose, and the rest of it, and none of that's ugly Sonic thing. Although he did appear in the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie that we had quite recently, a few years ago, I think. So yeah, so Sonic the Hedgehog. So about a hedgehog called Sonic. He arrives on planet Earth, trying to get back home and all this other stuff, but eventually wins over James Marsden and his partner. I forget the character's name, so I'm just going by their actor's name. And then, but government being the government, they typically want to capture Sonic because he's an alien. They don't trust aliens, yada yada yada. But then there's an evil guy called Ivo Robotnik, played by Jim Carrey, who is very much wanting to capture Sonic for his own personal gain, for world domination and everything. And Sonic has to stop him, and all this other stuff happens. Yeah, it's a very typical alien invasion film where an alien invades the Earth. It gets the interest of a government-funded agency who want to capture him, and then Sonic has to prove himself that he's not a danger or anything, and all this other stuff happens. And I'll be honest, I didn't particularly like this first film to begin with, but I did sort of enjoy it the next few times that I watched it. The issues I had with it were is basically a very cliched film. It's very much follows the same basic formula of any kind of alien invasion film, and then and also because it's about a speedster, it also does that thing where it has those scenes that where Sonic does something that's already been done before. So you've got that Quicksilver scene where everything's slowed down except Sonic can just move things around with some music thrown in for good measure. You got that scene where you think it could have gone one way, but it goes another way, even though that one way would have sort of saved the film a few minutes. But hey ho, and various other things as well. And I think there was a sort of Superman 3 moment as well, or whatever that film was. So yeah. But anyway, Sonic the Hedgehog, the first film, it's not. It's a film that's definitely far from perfect. That's for sure. But it's an enjoyable flick. In fact, all the films are pretty enjoyable. But this first one in particular, I don't know what I was expecting going into it, but I'm kind of glad that I gave it a shot because it's as good as it can be, and it's only going to get better from here. So I'm going to give the first Sonic film 3 stars on the basis that it is a very cliched film and a very predictable film, but is otherwise very enjoyable all the same. So that's that one. So next is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Yeah, just carry on with the number way. So this one was based on this. I think the second and third games because Tails is in the film and Knuckles is in the film, and as with the original games, Knuckles is portrayed as a bad guy, and yeah, so Knuckles is portrayed as a bad guy that joins Robotnik, but then turns into a good guy when he realizes that Robotnik is hell-bent on taking revenge on Sonic and also dominating the world again. Whereas Tails and Sonic, are kind of trying to escape their wrath and all that. And yeah, it's not as predictable as the first film, and it's definitely another enjoyable flick. And I like that they decided to be a bit risque with the voice actors. Like they like Sonic. I forget the actors who voiced the voice of some of the characters, but the guy that voices Sonic, he sounds like the Sonic voice actor from the games. Tails, I believe, is voiced by the same person from the games. Knuckles is Idris Elba, which does feel a bit strange hearing Idris Elba of all people voicing Knuckles, but it actually does kind of work in a way because Idris Elba, he's a good actor. He portrays a very sort of no nonsense kind of character and a very sort of action based character, very serious and everything, but sometimes he does have a good sense of humor and a good heart, which definitely fits Knuckles quite well. So yeah. So I'm gonna give Sonic the Hedgehog 2 4 stars because I enjoyed it a bit more than the second film, and I just like how they decided to not change the characters, and I just like how they decided not to change the characters too much from the games and just give them voices that may not sound like them from the games, but are still very much them, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah. So before we get to Sonic 3, there is the matter of the Paramount Plus series Knuckles. So following the events of the second film, Knuckles got his own series in which his ancestors task him with finding finding and training a guardian to protect the Master Emerald, and he decides to train Wade. What's his name? Wade Wimple. There we go. Wade Wimple, who is a bit of a doofus, but has a good heart and is kind of preparing himself for a bowling championship to go against his dad, who is a bit of who we later find out is a bit of a prick, but more on that a bit later. And the series is just them going on a buddy road trip with Knuckles being a target for another agency. Nothing that has nothing to do with Robotnik, and Wade Wimple just going with him to try and be the best spoiler he can be, try and be his dad, and then deciding what's right for him. And the series kind of ends the way I think it would end. Just, you know, he beats his dad while at the same time helps Knuckles defeat his enemies, and everything's all done and dusted and all that. And although the series doesn't really feel like it's necessary, I did find some enjoyment out of it. So I'm going to give it 4 stars because it is quite an enjoyable thing and good for fill the gap kind of situation while we wait for what would be Sonic 3. Which, speaking of which, let's talk about Sonic 3. So Sonic 3 feels like it's trying to adapt elements from Sonic Adventure 2 and Shadow the Hedgehog video games, in which we get the sort of backstory of Shadow, who's very much a hedgehog on a mission of vengeance because of what happened to Maria, and his vengeance is kind of shared with Ivo Robotnik's grandfather Gerald, also played by Jim Carrey. And I kind of like in this film that Shadow the Hedgehog's a very faithful take on him, because Keanu Reeves, he did his homework, and you know, anything that Keanu Reeves does, he's usually a good actor, does his homework and does everything right. You can't go wrong with him usually. And with this third film, it's very entertaining. There's a lot of moments where I'm laughing throughout. It's a very goofy film, very funny film. It does have an emotional moment as well when both Sonic and Shadow have a heart to heart. And there's also moments where Knuckles feels like he's been betrayed by Sonic, and other moments as well. And it's also kind of nice to finally see Team Sonic, which is obviously Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, finally working together. Whether 3 films in, it's a nice thing to see. And the ending does kind of hint that even though Ivo Robotnik may not be around anymore, I hope that's not a big spoiler. Sorry. There's other threats that Sonic can take on when that guy's either missing in action or whatever. So yeah. It's also nice to see that this film also introduces the Chows, the Chows, who are these little creatures that appear in the Sonic Adventure games, and have been making regular appearances ever since. So it's nice to see them, and it's also great that there's at least one scene dedicated to where Sonic was first created, which was of course in Japan. So that's nice to see. I do think the main person in charge of Gun, played by Kirsten Rittner, the Jessica Jones person, she does feel kind of wasted, and her character does feel quite bland. It's not really much going for her. And then there's kind of like these 3 different factions. You got Team Sonic, who are fighting for good, Team Eggman, who are fighting for evil, and then Gun, who think both teams are working together, but actually they're not. And then eventually things happen, and then we have a Death Star kind of moment where the heroes are trying to stop the laser from blasting Earth. And Ivo Robotnik, as you expect from the trailer, decides to try and save the Earth rather than destroy it, because he's very much bent on dominating Earth and ruling it rather than destroying it, like Gerald and Shadow want to do, although Shadow later abandons that, spoiler alert. So yeah. So for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I would like to give it 5 stars because I know it's the best of the films so far, but the reason why I'm giving it 4 is because it's still quite goofy looking, and it's still quite goofy looking. It feels like it's being a rinse and repeat sort of thing, just bringing back Ivo Robotnik every time they get, because they don't think there's any other enemies that they can use, although the post-credit scene says otherwise. So yeah, but who knows? Hopefully they'll try and use a different villain for the next film. But I just hope that Paramount don't milk this franchise for its worth, because they've already done that with Transformers. We know how that's going, and they've been making countless sequels and stuff to various Nickelodeon shows, specifically SpongeBob. So yeah, just hope that when we do get Sonic 4, it continues to be good. Maybe it might get 100% on tomorrow's, who knows. But yeah, just try and keep the quality great and keep people invested in the franchise. And yeah. So yeah. Now I haven't played Sonic X Shadow Generations yet, so I can't really talk about that game particularly. I have played Sonic Generations though, but I've not played the new version of that. Because I know there's a sort of tie-in with that to the third film. But as and when I get around to playing that on this channel, well, then I'll talk about it then. So yeah. Alright, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. I upload videos at various times daily in the BST/GMT time zone. I do random film reviews like this, and I also do other vlogs talking about things in pop culture that I'm interested in. Talk about life in general, and I do hauls. And I also do gameplay videos where I do straight up gameplay, nothing else. Let's play videos where you got my camera on and there's commentary and everything. And I do shorts celebrating anniversaries and birthdays of things and people that I like, and other things as well on the horizon and all that. And if you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to share with your pals, do so. If you want to leave a comment, do so. If you subscribe and want to actually be notified when I release new videos, hit the bell button. Sorry, so got gold. See you in the next one. Peace to you all. And remember, you can trust some people, but don't trust everybody. And if you've got to go fast, go fast. But remember, just slow down, take it easy. Things don't have to be too fast. Don't rush or anything. You know, do take your time with some things in life. So yeah. And remember, even though some films that are based on video games are being made and so forth, give them the chance, give them the benefit of the doubt, because for all we know, even though they may get some pretty bad reviews, they may actually end up being good in the end, and some people are just being negative because they can be negative. So yeah, but yeah, whatever. Alright, doodles.
Everybody supersonic racing, try to keep your feet